Hi, so good to be sending this to you. How are you doing? Thank you so much. Let me start by saying thank you for forwarding the videos to people in positions of power. I've seen a number of people, comment. I've seen your feedback, your very kind words. Thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate them all. Today, we're going to be talking about something very interesting. So please, as you've been doing, share around, subscribe, follow, and put your comments. I love to read from you. Today we're going to be talking about how to solve a complex problem like Nigeria. And this is actually a very, very interesting topic. I was having a chat with my friend and sister T, and she made an analogy that I think is very powerful. She said that if you have a beautiful house and you fix the glass windows, you fix the roof, you paint the house, you make the house so beautiful, but the house is built on sand. She said it's just a matter of time. It's a time bomb waiting to explode, right? She says nothing you put on sand will stand. And when she made the analogy, it was so powerful, and I paused to think about it. And I think that's where we're going to be starting this conversation from today. We're going to be talking about the foundational problem. That's going to be the first problem we're going to be addressing. I, in my personal opinion, think that the foundation of Nigeria is weak. And what I mean by that is that, back to what actually makes us Nigeria, I do think that there's still a lot of unresolved things there, right? And it's a problem because it stands in the way of our progress. It always comes up at every nook and cranny. We are such diverse people. And while I acknowledge and admit that diversity is a strength, we have a beautiful, beautiful cultural heritage across the country. But at the same time, there's still some fundamental things that we need to fix so that it doesn't stand in the place of our progress. So number one problem, foundational. Number two problem with Nigeria, which is also a very, very interesting problem, and it's a problem that right from the time when we got our independence even till now, it's just continued to be, in fact, maybe before independence, it was even a problem. And that's leadership problem, right? Leadership problem. It all rises and falls on leadership, right? And so when there is success, when a nation succeeds, the leader takes ownership. When the nation fails, the leader should take ownership, right? It all just rises and falls on leadership. Leadership is so important in charting the course, right? And in ensuring that people are taken from a point A to a point B. Leadership is what ensures that everything comes together, that we are governed well, we are governed as we should, and we are able to achieve what we should achieve as a country. So number two, leadership problem. Number three, systemic problem. What is a systemic problem? A systemic problem is a problem that is contained in the way that the country is structured and how it works operationally, right? It has to do with problems that are endemic in the system. It could be because of people, it could be because of processes, it could be the way we do things in the country. How efficient are we? How well establish our processes, how well effective are the things that we do, right? So that is systemic, right? And we have that systemic problem. We do have a system that pulls down. We have a system that just releases confusion to the atmosphere and everybody doesn't even know. Very interesting, right? Everybody's just confused because the system is just very, very corrupted and corrosive and does not allow things to thrive. An analogy I'm going to use here is that in a desert land, there are some seeds that if you sow on a desert land or you sow on a sandy soil, it cannot germinate. It cannot. Why? Because that environment is harsh for the seed. So everything that the seed needs, the conditions, the atmospheric conditions that it needs to thrive is not there. So it will die, the seed will die. And so when we have a system that is corrosive and harsh to growth, to progress, to new ideas, to advanced ways of doing things, to progressive ways of doing things, no matter the solution you introduce into that kind of environment, it's not going to thrive. So systemic problem a big problem. The next one I'll talk about, which is actually quite interesting, is attitudinal problem. Attitudinal problem. Some people are of the opinion that, if leadership is right, everything will be right. But some other people are of the opinion that citizens also have their role to play in nation building. Right? There are times that you see people literally, they've gone to where government property is, say it's a bridge that is made of steel so that people can cross the bridge, right? And then people actually take that steel and they go and sell it off. They vandalize government property. Or very ridiculous things like you eat banana. This one, I saw it live. You eat banana and then you finish eating that banana and you throw the peel on the road. Like, are you trying to cause an accident? Right? There's attitudinal problem. There is national orientation that needs to be fixed. We need to have a sense of values, social values, national values that drive us as Nigerians. By virtue of the richness of our culture, there are some values that are already ingrained in us. Values like hard work, decency, responsibility, honesty, just by virtue of our culture. But then when you now add a layer of national values, there's patriotism. Oh, one country that I know people are very patriotic there. Of course, things are changing recently. If you see how people are patriotic in the United States of America, whenever their anthem is played, there's this sense of, this is my country. And I'm not saying that they are even, having a field time right now, but essentially you can see that patriotism in an average American, right? That sense of, this is my country, Nigeria. I want to defend our honor and protect our integrity. I want to stand and honor what this country stands for. Right? That needs to be there. So we've talked about the problems, so attitudinal problem. Let's talk about the solutions. For foundational problems, one of the ways by which that can be fixed really is by leadership being able to paint for us and describe for us a future and a shared vision that we can all subscribe to. The truth is that Nigeria is here to stay. And because Nigeria is here to stay, if we know that we are together, despite our differences, how do we forge ahead to ensure that there is a common goal that we all want to achieve and we can all work towards? A goal that is inclusive of everyone, regardless of social status, religion, culture, gender, social class, economic class. A vision that is truly Nigerian. There's something that former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo used to say, that greatness is Nigerian. I believed it and I still believe it. Greatness is Nigerian. Literally, if you want to synonymize being Nigerian, the word that is the synonym, perfect synonym to being a citizen of this Federal Republic would be greatness. And it is in us. It is in our young, our old. It is in our aged. It is in us. Greatness is ingrained in Nigerians. We leave this country, we go to foreign countries and we set records. We do amazing things. We win world records. We set Guinness Books of Records. We achieve very highly, right? So we now need a leader that can sell to us a joint, compelling vision that we can all believe in. I'm not talking about a fancy sounding vision. I'm talking about a vision that is truly well thought through and how to get there and how we can all be carried along, the 220 million Nigerians, to say that this is where we can get to as a country. This is how we plan to get there. This is what we need to do to get there. We need to have that national vision to bind us together. We need it. It has to be compelling. It has to be, I'm not talking about some nice sounding manifesto. No, I'm talking about a selfless, what is the vision of Nigeria? What does it mean to be Nigerian? What will it count for to be a citizen of this country? Where are we headed and how do we plan to get there? Very important. I believe that if we have that in place and our leaders are cascading it to us and we see it everywhere and it is on our lips and we understand it and we believe in it and we see that our leaders are working hard towards it, I do believe we're going to rally around that vision. I do believe so. Secondly, for the leadership problem, this is a problem whose solution I believe is multifaceted. There's a part of it that has to do with whoever is going into political office to have the capacity, the competence, and the character to be in that office. Not just somebody who aspires for power, for personal gain, or personal aggrandizement, as my father will put it, but someone who understands that leadership is service and that power is for the people and it really belongs to the people and it is for the people, and you are just standing as an employee of the people to get things done, then we begin to say that yes, this person who has this understanding is capable of being a leader, and this is the person we should vote for. But then there's also another part of that equation, which is who are the people that are actually running for political office? And are the people that have these qualities that I've mentioned, are they going into politics? Are they going into politics? And I honestly understand with the way politics can be, if you are not ready for what it takes, then people just will opt for let me just opt for this life. This is an easier path. This is a less risky path. So let me just opt for it. But if everybody who has this capacity is opting for the less risky path, then we are going to be ruled by the people that shouldn't rule us. And they will make decisions that will be binding on me and you. So this is a call for people to go into politics. I know there's another question of how do we even go into that politics, right? How do we even join a political party? I have tried, I have Googled, I have asked around. Nobody really knows. Someone has said it's just by paying dues of a party. So somebody is like, it's just by taking pictures with members of a party. It's becoming confusing. So we are going to talk about it in our next set of videos. How do you join a political party, right? And we're going to get people that literally have the information, right? And we're going to ask them, why is it that this information, you are the only one that has it? Or just these few people that have it? Why is it not something that everybody knows? Why is it not even taught in our schools? Social studies, or is it civil education they call it now, right? Like how to join a political party in Nigeria. It should be public information, right? So that's another part of that equation. Then there's the third part of that equation is who are the people that we are voting for? I.e., are people actually informed about the people they are voting for? Basically, voters, education, and engagement. Or do people just see their votes as something that they should just sell? Do you understand? There's also that part of the equation that has to do with electoral reform. Electoral reform that ensures that really our votes also count. Because that's another part of the equation. Do our votes really count? So you see this leadership problem, there are so many angles to it. And all of these angles need to be solved and looked at strategically before we can even now say that, yes, we have elected this particular person and we believe in what this person can deliver. That is where we need to get to as a country, where we can all put our full chest to say, I voted for this person and this person has the capacity to deliver. Not like I wish this person can deliver, or I hope this person can deliver. No, you have looked at the track record of the person. Hiring in the private sector, if you have HR professionals as friends, you can ask them, right? HR professionals genuinely believe, and it works, that one of the ways by which you can predict future performance is by looking at past performance. So when they are recruiting a potential hire, they are asking the person questions that makes the person go into their past. Why is that? Because if I can see and I am convinced that from your past you've been able to do it, I have faith that you can reproduce it in your future. That is how we should look at people going for political offices, to say, what has this person done? Not how much bags of rice have this person distributed in the last year leading up to the election. No. When this person was in their early 20s, what were they doing? When this person was in their mid 20s, what did they start doing? When this person was in their late 20s, what did they do? When they moved into their 30s, what were they doing? Now that they are in their mid 30s, what are they doing? I think for presidential position, you have to be 40. So what have they done so far? How have they served people? What offices have they occupied? How have they conducted themselves in those offices? Those need to be public information before we push somebody out to go and represent us on national stage, or even elect somebody to be a state governor. And that's why there has to be voter education. There's got to be the ability to engage, people engaging with people they want to vote, to understand who they are. We need to be able to ask questions. There should be presidential debates and conversations. We should be able to ask them questions that they can answer, so that they can convince us that they are the ones we should, in quotes, hire to be in the office of the president or the office of the governor or any other publicly elected position. I do believe that it's a whole spectrum of things that need to be done. But if we get leadership right, that is a major step in the national progress that we desire, in the country that we dream of. Now, moving to the next one, which is systemic. One of the ways by which these systemic problems can be resolved is through digitization and digitalization. See, one of the equations that fuel corruption is when there is personal discretion in decision making. So when people are the ones that decide in one way or the other, either decide on a process or decide on an outcome, it is going to be subject to human inputs and can be subject to, a lot of boycotting, a lot of manipulation. So what digitization and digitalization does is that it regularizes things, regularizes processes, and removes personal discretion to the extent possible, right? So that way, you have transparent systems, transparent processes, faster processes. I will give you an example of the first time I got my Nigerian passport ever. I remember how long it took. There was this extremely long queue at the immigration office. In fact, I think some people fought that day, like they beat each other. Before I got my passport that day, I saw a lot. Fast forward to a few years ago, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, I was going to renew my passport. I promise you, within 2 days, I was shocked. When the parcel came, it came in the post. When it came, I first looked at my friend like this. I said, "What is this?" By the time I opened it, I promise you it was my Nigerian passport. We were both flabbergasted because I had just taken it to the immigration office to renew just 2 days before. And 2 days after I got it. That is one of what digitization, that is what the introduction of technology does. It makes processes faster, more efficient. We need more of that. As a matter of fact, the workforce of the civil service, the workforce of the future, has to be computer literate, has to be tech savvy and tech compliant. That's the truth. If our workforce is not literate, not computer literate, still manual method of carrying files, essentially we are like 200 years behind. Maybe more 125, but definitely over 100 years behind. We need to move into the workforce of the future. There's got to be digitalization and digitization to make things faster and more efficient and to lead us to where we are headed as a nation. And then lastly, attitudinal problem. When I think about this, it's quite painful. It's painful because there are 2 institutions that just top of my mind I think of responsible for fueling people's belief system and their value system. And number 1 is the family. Very important. Your value system, your basics of who you are as an individual, how you see the world, how you interact with other people, the values that govern your life, they are defined within the context of the home, the family. And then number 2, it is educational institutions. So you go to school, they teach you basics, this is how to act in society, all those very essentials, they are taught in school. Now we are beginning to see a breakdown, especially in the last about 15 years, all around the world, a breakdown in the family structure. And what that happens is that it introduces societal confusion. When someone commits a crime, do a root, I'm not saying in all cases, but do a root cause analysis to find out what is happening in the family that person has come from. You will realize that either there is a marital dysfunction or there is just a serious, family dysfunction or separation or confusion or disharmony or anarchy. It is always in some way traceable to what is happening in the home. Of course, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases. So essentially, the solution to this is that as much as possible, to the extent possible, we need to just find a way to uphold family values, right? One of the things I was thinking of the other day was that if I have to go for training before I get my driver's license, then there's got to be some sort of counseling that must be compulsory before people are handed marriage certificates. counseling and maybe mental assessment before people are handed. I'm very serious. Before people are handed marriage certificates, so like, is this person mentally sound to be in a marriage, to start a family unit? Check. Number 2, has this person gone through counseling? Because family contributes to society. Society can't act as though family is not their business. In one country, a lot of money from government revenue is spent just putting people in homes, foster homes, right? People that are victims of broken families, you know, and it's just a lot. It's just a lot. Also crimes from people from this family, a lot of money from government to mop all of that. So why is government not so involved in family? Let there be a structure to at least do the best that the government can do to ensure that the family unit is okay. You know, then aside from that, our educational institutions have to be fortified. They have to keep teaching the basics of hard work, decency. It is not in our schools that they should be cheating for examinations. Like, seriously. You are treating examinations as part of class questions, examination questions. What kind of leaders are we grooming? They now say that people that leave your school graduate with 9 distinctions. But we know that really, things have happened. What is going on? What is even going on? What exactly is going on? The schools that I went to, I can say our teachers went very far from the examination halls. They just disappear. You do that exam, and so it developed in me this self-sufficiency, because your child may pass to that next class, they may get into the university, but when life tests them, will they still be able to stand, right? So our educational institutions have to really demonstrate the values that they teach. You can't teach children integrity and then teach them exam questions that, because you've purchased the question and then you're teaching them inside class as normal class work, and then it's just not go there. Let's not do that. Parents should not be buying things by cheating for getting children to cheat. No, it ought not to be so, right? It ought not to be so. If a child fails, let the child fail. It means that there are things the child needs to learn. They are going to learn, they will become stronger for it. They will still be great in life, right? So those need to be fixed. And I particularly want to address the Ministry of Information and National Orientation. I think this ministry is doing a very pivotal role. However, I think that the impact still needs to spread across the country. I think that this ministry has the opportunity to be able to introduce national values in a way that reconfigures our joint identity as a nation. I think that this ministry has the opportunity to speak to the hearts of people if the information is cascaded in the most effective way that will get the ears of people, depending on where they are in life. So definitely, I look forward to that ministry doing more, right? I know they are doing what they can, but I do believe that there is the opportunity to do a lot more. I believe they are playing a very, very important role, and I believe that if that ministry gets it right, they will do a lot. They will be major contributors into essentially just rebranding and reconfiguring the hearts and the minds of Nigerians towards our national values, right? So these are a few problems that I've listed and a few solutions that I've proposed. Let me know what you think about them in the comments. And also, I want you to add what you think other problems are. I want to listen to what you think problems are and also what you think solutions are. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Looking forward to hearing from you. Take care and thank you very much. Bye.